So what's good, y'all? We back with another video, and we got some more Knicks news, but this video would have been dropped even if I wasn't a Knicks fan because this is officially news now. Like, this isn't just me rambling. This is actually news. Tom Thibodeau is on the hot seat. It's clear. It's really clear that he's on the hot seat, and he's on a hot seat with like the worst remaining schedule possible for him to stay alive in this coaching seat. Because they're about to start a West Coast trip. They play the Utah Jazz tonight. And I have no confidence whatsoever that they can pull out more than a win in this West Coast trip. I have no confidence. And I completely understand if he gets fired now. Because when you go back into the offseason, you sign Jalen Brunson. And in my opinion, I already knew the Knicks were going to be an average team. I mean, I predicted them with, 40 wins? Making the play-in is like a 10 seed, but I had them with 40 wins. And they're 6-7 so far. And some would say, 6-7, isn't that what you expected? And a lot of Knicks fans would say, yes, that is what we expected. But if you watch the games and you watch how they lose, and you watch the effort on a night-to-night basis, it's just so inconsistent. There's so many nights where this team just looks like they're done. Like, they don't want to play for the coach or something. I don't know. But there's nights where they just look done. I mean, we go back. Ever since I made my last Knicks video, which was after the Hawks game, where they choked a 23-point lead, and at one point we're almost down 20. We've had games after that now where they played Philadelphia. James Harden, Joel Embiid didn't play, and they barely won that game. Barely. Then we move on. Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, you want to score? Great. The Knicks were scoring. But when you allow a franchise record for Boston on threes, you're not going to win. They allowed over 130 points in that game. You move on. They played, this is not the game after, but they played the Detroit Pistons. Barely won. Barely won against a team without Cade Cunningham, and they're already one of the worst teams in the league with Cade Cunningham healthy. He didn't even play, and they barely squeaked out a win there. And now that leads me to Oklahoma City. Knicks played Oklahoma City on a Sunday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern Time game. And usually, you expect with those games, probably a low-scoring game, something of that nature, but no. The Knicks actually went out there and scored 48 points, a franchise record in the first quarter. And you would think, 48 points in the first quarter? They must be up by 15 plus, 20 plus points. No. They were up 12 or 10. One of those two numbers. It was like 48-36 or 48-38. So you score 48 points and then you allow 38 or 36 points. Whatever, right? Alright, you just might think, oh, it's going to be one of those offensive shootout kind of games. But then the Knicks would go on to allow Oklahoma City, mind you, they're a fun little team to watch. I'm not even going to hate on them. They're actually better than the Knicks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a superstar player. Really good. But when you allow 43 points in back-to-back quarters in the second and third quarter of that game, there's just no effort. I mean, this team literally allowed 120 points through three quarters. They finished allowing 145 points. That is ridiculous. At home, to allow 145 points to a team that's young, they're average, they're an average team right now, they're not even that good, and you allow 145 points. Now, mind you, Oklahoma City had been on a little scoring tear, scoring like 130 the previous 2 or 3 games. But 145 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's so many things wrong with this team for this team to be 6-7 that is crazy. You would think that they'd have 2-3 wins. Maybe it's just that we're in New York and everything gets magnified a little bit more, but the effort is just not there on a night-to-night basis. Like, there's nights where this team they look bad. But then there's nights where they look decent. And to be honest, it's starting to become obvious. It's starting to become really obvious what's the problems with this team. They don't have the talent to win. The young talent that they have, we don't know about some of them. We don't know what Obi Toppin is. Some people want to say Obi Toppin's a role player, and yeah, he might be a role player, but I want to see what he is because I think he can be a guy that gives you 18, 19 points per game if he plays 30 to 35 minutes, but that's just me. But we'll never see that with Julius Randle being on the team still. Now, we have had Evan Fournier come off the bench, and mind you, he needs to not play at all. I'm telling you right now, he needs to not play at all. I don't even want to see him play anymore, but it's whatever. He comes off the bench. But here's the thing. He comes off the bench, but against OKC, a game where you're already not playing defense, you have him out there for 20 minutes, but Obi Toppin plays 15 minutes. Does that make any sense? In that same game, RJ Barrett, who was playing horrible, I get it. He got benched from like the early third quarter to the rest of the game. That's fine. If you want to hold him accountable, that is fine. But here's the thing with Tibbs. If you're going to hold RJ Barrett accountable and you're going to hold other guys accountable, because Jalen Brunson didn't play for like the final few minutes, 10 plus minutes, I don't know how many minutes it was, but he didn't play for a good amount of minutes at the end of that game either. If you're going to hold guys accountable, where is this accountability with Julius Randle? And it's not even Randle's fault. He's just the guy that ends up being in a situation for this part. Don't get me wrong. Not a big Randle guy still. He still needs to get off the team. But you need to hold Randle accountable too. There was games last year where Julius Randle gave you no effort on the defensive end, no effort on the offensive end, and he still played 30 plus minutes. That just makes no sense. And that's why he should be on the hot seat, and that's why he is on the hot seat. And now we look at this team. They're 6-7. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're a slightly above average offensive team, even though they're very shaky. It really just depends on if Jalen Brunson's having a good night, to be honest. If Jalen Brunson ain't scoring, or if he ain't facilitating, if he ain't having a good game, more likely than not, the Knicks ain't doing nothing. Even with Julius Randle putting up 20, or RJ Barrett putting up 20. That's most likely the case. So when I look at this Knicks team, there's a lot of things wrong. And it's coming really close to where Tom Thibodeau is going to get fired. And it's for the best. It's for the best that he gets fired. And it's for the best that the Knicks look on to move from some of these guys. And we need to start holding the front office more accountable, because I don't hear more people discuss about this front office. They're a little shaky too. They're going to have extra time to figure things out more than the coaches, because usually the coach is the first one that's out the door when things are going wrong. But they need to start getting talked about too, because this team is very mediocre. They refuse to go into the young guys' direction. Even though the team is fairly young, you still got Evan Fournier playing minutes. You still got Julius Randle on the team, who, by the way, one of the worst defensive players in the NBA. Don't care what anybody says. It gives you no effort at all. Still got Derrick Rose, who only gets 10 to 12 minutes, but he should even be on the team at this point. Trade him to a contender. Something. Yeah. Team's not that good. But don't get me wrong, though. I'm not impressed with the play of, like, RJ Barrett either. I just have more leeway with him to let him, you know, go through his little stuff, and then hopefully he gets out of it. But I've already accepted RJ Barrett just might be a good starter, but I don't know if he's ever going to be like a multiple-time All-Star. I don't know. I don't know what he is. Is he improving every year? Yeah, he definitely is. But there's certain things with this Knicks team we just don't know about. A lot of uncertainties. We don't know what Quentin Grimes is. We don't know what Obi Toppin is. Cam Reddish, he's more of like our defensive guy right now, because as you can see, when he gets touches, more touches than usual, he has better offensive games, not great ones. I mean, in OKC, he played the best game of the season so far for him. But, you know, he's a little shaky on the offensive end, but he needs more touches to get into a rhythm. These guys are rhythm players. If Cam Reddish is playing with the starters and he's barely touching the ball because Brunson, Randle, and RJ all touching it, how are guys going to get in a rhythm? So there's just a lot of things, a lot of uncertainties with this team. It's pretty clear what they got to do. I've said it a million times. Tear it down. Get the coach out. That's the first thing. Get the guys that don't need to be here out of the team. And if you lose, you lose. That's it. You got a lot of first-round picks. You lose, you lose. There's no point of winning in this season. You're not winning the championship, and this team most likely is not going to the play-in. They're not even going to the play-in. So, I don't know. You know, pretty simple logic. We'll see how long it takes for the Knicks front office to finally look in the mirror and see that this thing just doesn't work. And it should be an interesting few days, few weeks, few months. I don't know. But I expect more news to come out of this whole Knicks situation, because right now it's just the beginning. The team is 6-7, but they feel like they've only won like 3 games. That's just the reality situation. They beat a Charlotte team without LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. They beat Philadelphia without Joel Embiid and James Harden. That's 2 games right there where they probably would have lost. A lot of things I just don't know about this team, to be honest. Really don't. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Link will be down in the description below. This has been a checkup where we talk hoops and hoops only. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.